How's everyone going? Good, good. Ready to go?
Come on, mate.
Camo's ready?
Stand beside me, I'll make you look like I'll make you look like Brad Pitt.
Good. The Palaszczuk government's Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan is creating jobs right across the state, including many here in the state's north, in and around Townsville. And today we're announcing that we have declared the Kidston Wind Farm a prescribed project. That's the last component of the Kidston Clean Energy Hub, which will create 200 jobs in construction. It will deliver greater energy reliability to industry here in and around Townsville. It will generate, store and dispatch energy. It's a critical component. This northern renewable energy zone is a critical component of the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan. The plan will see us meet our targets, 50% renewable energy by 2028, 70% by 2032, but it will also create jobs along the way, most of them in the regions, and Townsville is incredibly well placed to benefit from those jobs. It's strategically located with a fantastic port, excellent transmission out to where much of this energy will be generated, including at Kidston, a fantastic high-skilled local workforce, including here at TEI, where you can see projects like Kidston creating jobs for locals, because there's 10 new apprentices here on site benefiting from the $62 billion we are investing into clean energy and jobs here in Queensland. I'm going to turn to Minister Stewart and then Aaron and Richard.
Oh, well, it's great to have the acting Premier in town with this outstanding announcement, because it means jobs for our kids. Now, whether it's actually here in the manufacturing sector, or whether it's out at Kidston, or whether it's in the field of power, this is real, tangible jobs for our kids. They see that there's a bright future for us right here in their own hometown of Townsville. So when I was recently out at Kidston, I was actually able to have a look at that project out there. Kidston is an old gold mine where they have 2 pits, and they're using that now, that old gold mine, to actually, the next generation for that is about using that to create power that we will need here in the north, and renewable power. So what this will do is help create that ESG credentialing that we will see, that mines will need as we continue to decarbonise our economies, not only domestically, but internationally. We will see ESG credential products through our mining sector being in huge demand. This is a great hand-in-glove partnership that we see. So we are breathing new life into an old mine site, whether it's through tailings dams or, in this case, pumped hydro. This is the future for mining in Queensland.
Thanks, Scott.
Well, I said to the acting Premier a number of years ago, he's often here in Townsville. He's here that often, Stephen, he leaves a swag at the airport. Whether he was the Health Minister, the Deputy Premier, or today as the acting Premier, he's always here with good news. This is an important day, not just because of the local jobs that it generates, but also it demonstrates the commitment of the Palaszczuk government, its commitment in 2019 to help build and fund the transmission line is coming to fruition, and this company, TIE, and I congratulate all involved, are literally going to be helping power North Queensland, producing clean, green energy as part of our jobs and energy plan.
Morning. These large public infrastructure jobs are great, not just for the immediate workforce, but we're managing to train apprentices, and so they leave a legacy of skills, which is so important. That's what I get excited about, and very happy to be working on these large public infrastructure jobs.
Paul Timshauser from Paralympic. We're involved in building the transmission line out to Kidston site. Of course, it's a really important piece of infrastructure for the state. The Kidston pumped hydro, of course, generate 250 megawatts during peak periods, and its pumping loads overnight to push the water back up the hill, or during the daytime, I should say, will hoover up all that abundance of solar resources we have in the state. So it's a great project for the state, and it's nice that we're able to get so much of the work done locally and make sure we make use of the of the skills that are available in the region.
Any questions?
Why is North Queensland the perfect site for this project?
Well, North Queensland is incredibly strategically important to our renewable energy and jobs plan. The sun and wind resources not far from here are excellent, and of course there is a lot of open space that we can use to capture that sun and that wind. There is already very high quality transmission lines that we intend to bolster and will continue to bolster, bringing that power here closer to Townsville, where it can be used by heavy industry to produce goods that can then be exported through the Townsville port. So Townsville really has everything it needs. You add to that the water that will come with the new pipeline that we're building, that we will be able to use to turn into hydrogen, again to power local industry and also to export to the world. So this is all about massive economic opportunity for Townsville, which means more jobs for people in North Queensland.
What was TEI's actual involvement in the project?
So I understand TEI is already helping to construct components of the Kidston project. That will be further increased when we move into construction of the transmission and substation, but I'm happy to get Richard to say a bit more about that.
Yeah, so we're building about 40 tonne of steel, tubular poles and things, and that's the steel over in the other bay there. That's going to the Mount Fox substation, so it's part of the transmission line from Kidston. We've got to deliver this by the end of March, so we got 2.5 months to put it all together and get it galvanised and shipped up to Mount Fox.
Deputy Premier, we know jobs, people are finding it really hard to get people into jobs at the moment, so it's all good and well to say to create this many jobs, but how are you actually going to get people into those positions?
Well, we'll continue to recruit from around the country and around the world, but most importantly, we're going to train locals, and that's what makes this such a great example of how we are delivering prosperity for future generations through our investment into renewable energy. These apprentices will go on to work in industry for decades to come, but they've been able to get their start and get their training thanks to these big investments, these big projects, and fantastic local companies like this one.
From Brisbane, why did the Premier think
They always have the worst questions. Just stick to Townsville questions.
Are the Cowboys going to go well this year? Yes.
why did the Premier think it was appropriate to hop on a private plane and attend the museum opening as state's blood practice last year?
Well, the Rockhampton Art Gallery is an incredibly important project to the community of Rockhampton, and Queensland is a very big state. I think it's very important that we all spend time in the regions. I spend a lot of time travelling the regions, as does the Premier. Her job is busy though, and so sometimes to be able to do that, to be present in those communities that we represent, we need to take advantage of the travel options that are available. And I understand that's what has happened here. It wouldn't have been possible to both oversee the disaster response in the southeast while also attending the opening of that very important event in Rockhampton through commercial flights alone. And so I think it's entirely appropriate that in order to be in Rockhampton for that important event, she's utilised the transport that was available.
Does that make it a personal or official trip?
My understanding is it was an official trip for the opening of a new art gallery that was jointly funded, predominantly funded I think by the state government, but delivered in partnership with the local council, Rockhampton Local Council. It's a fantastic new art gallery, a new attraction for Rockhampton. People might not know, but Rockhampton has one of the best regional art collections in the country. They began buying significant amounts of art in the 1970s, haven't been able to display it until they got this new gallery. So as well as being the beef capital of the country, Rockhampton is now, thanks to this new gallery, also a cultural capital for regional Queensland.
She was snapped sipping a drink at that event. Do you agree it's not the best one?
Look, I think that kind of reporting is unhelpful. All of us are human, and we go to events, and for that to be misconstrued in some other way, I think is inappropriate. Look, the Premier went to an important event for an important region in Queensland, and I'm not going to apologise for that. In fact, I'm going to defend it.
Have you accepted private flights before for work events?
Look, I'd have to check my records. Not that I recall, but I've certainly accepted private transport. There's been occasions where to get to a location, I've only been able to use the ferry that is owned by that provider, for example, to get to Curtis Island, that kind of thing. So, look, it's not unusual for us to use what transport is available and to do so in a way that gets us around as efficiently as possible. It's a very big state. I've been travelling all week, and I know full well how hard it is to get to these places, but I also know how much it's appreciated when we're there.
On a different topic, we've seen a croc spotted down in Australia this week, and experts are saying we might see more sightings down south as the sea temperatures change. We know the croc populations up here have been booming. Will the government ever reconsider croc culls or anything of that nature?
Well, our rangers are already authorised to remove crocodiles by whatever means they determine most appropriate. Of course, largely that's here in the north, where they will trap and relocate dangerous crocodiles or shoot them if required. And I'm very grateful to the crocodile experts from Townsville who are currently in Minjerribah, that's Straddie, working with our Indigenous rangers there, the Quandamooka rangers, as well as the Queensland Parks and Wildlife rangers, to determine whether this sighting is real and what action should be taken. At this stage, we are saying it's a credible sighting. We have those crocodile experts from Townsville there trying to find this crocodile. They're using all sorts of technology, not just on water, but also drones. I understand that this morning they believe they may have confirmed sighting, although it's hard to identify from the drone whether it's a crocodile or some other animal, perhaps a dugong. So they'll continue to do that, and then they'll do what they do up here. That's determine the best way to remove it, whether that's by trapping and relocating to a farm or by shooting it.
Crimes continuing to ramp up in Rocky. The council works depot was hit 3 times in just a few weeks. What's your response to that?
Well, that's why we have put so many more police on the ground to fight crime in all of our regional communities. They are about 4 weeks in now to a high visibility policing operation, Operation Feeder. It has been very successful at apprehending offenders. I don't have to hand the Central Queensland data, but I'm happy to get that for you. I know that here in Townsville, that operation has been very successful. Across the northern region, it's resulted in 189 people being charged with 501 offences, 47 of those young offenders. That operation across the state involves 4,500 extra policing hours in the community, so visible police on the beat so that people can feel safe and also so that our police can apprehend offenders.
Will the Premier accept calls to reform Parliament early to debate the crime legislation?
Well, the Parliament is scheduled to return in February. That's not unusual for the parliamentary schedule. The folk drafting those new, tougher laws need time to get them right, to consult and finish writing them. I'm advised that they'll be ready in time for that first sitting and not sooner.
Are you confident these reforms will be ratified in this begging council?
What we've done, as we've always done, is sought the advice of police as well as other agencies. We've asked them, what do you need to better fight crime? And that's what this new 10 initiatives is all about. It is all in response to the advice we have received from police and agencies about what they can do, how they can do better, what tools and resources they need. And so that's what we're delivering with these 10 new initiatives.
Bring it back to this project, renewable energy like wind farms and solar farms, they're not projects that last forever. They have a life, usually less than 30 years. What plans does the Queensland Government have in place to sustainably replace solar panels and wind turbine panels and dispose of these materials? Because right now, many do lie in waste, and it's not that renewable.
The government has a plan to both make these products here as much as we possibly can, and to rehabilitate those products, recycle them where possible. All of these projects undergo stringent environmental impact studies that include rehabilitation and disposal. And so I can assure Queenslanders that we will pursue our renewable energy goals in the most sustainable way possible, while also creating as many jobs here as we possibly can. And while you're right, the bulk of the jobs on those projects are in construction, the ongoing jobs are in the utilisation of that energy and the ability to produce green products using renewable energy and send them around the world. Markets around the world are demanding products that are produced using green energy, and by putting Queensland at the forefront of the generation and storage of that energy, we're making sure that those jobs, those manufacturing jobs, are here in Queensland.
Just back to justice reform. How do you respond to the criticisms that the proposed fast-track sentencing program is just unrealistic, especially in places like Townsville, where the magistrates are dealing with like a minimum of 3,500 matters a year, and there's been calls for an additional district judge because they're just overloaded?
Well, that's precisely what this program is for. It's additional funding for courts such as here in Townsville so that they can deal with that backlog. We don't want to see offenders remaining on remand for longer than their ultimate sentence, because that's what results in them being released without programs. If we can have them sentenced earlier, then they can serve their sentence in detention, and we can deliver to them the programs that we know reduce recidivism. So this will see additional funding into courts such as Townsville to deliver what they say they need to clear that backlog, whether that's additional magistrates, whether that's additional supports, whether that's ensuring that all of the documentation required in considering sentencing is ready sooner. So that's what that extra funding is all about, supporting our courts to sentence offenders sooner.
Is the state government happy to hear the federal government will waive the student debt to teachers in rural and remote areas? Will this help attract teachers to those areas for the state to construct?
Well, certainly what we need in states like Queensland is targeted programs to support people to train in regional areas and remote areas and to stay in regional and remote areas. And the one thing that I learnt really starkly in health is if you train people in regional areas, they're much more likely to stay in regional areas. They might go to different ones. But if you move everyone to Brisbane and you establish them in Brisbane over 6 or 8 or 10 years of training, they're likely to have established themselves in Brisbane, found a house, met a partner, sent kids to school. So training people in the regions is the best way to get those professions in the regions. That's why we put so much effort into the medical school up here. I think it's really smart for the federal government to be looking at what they can be doing right across the country to encourage people to stay in, study in, train in and work in regional areas.
Yesterday, disaster assistance for regional Queensland monsoon flooding was announced, and key areas that have just been impacted in the Burdekin, closer to Bowen and further down south around Mackay, were not included. When can we expect assistance for those regions?
So we're in the process of making those declarations. I understand the paperwork is on its way to me, so we'll sign that off just as quickly as we can. I've already advised those local governments that it's likely to come, so they are ensuring that they record all of their expenditure so that they can recoup those funds from the Queensland and Australian governments.
And it's National Corrections Day today. How important is the work that those frontline staff do?
Corrections Day. Excellent. Well, I'd like to congratulate all of our frontline correctional officers. They do an important and sometimes dangerous job keeping our community safe, and I'd just like to say to them, thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks, everyone.
Do you